let's just go through all of the papers then. And with us this morning is the anthropologist Mariana Hotta and author and broadcaster Emma Wolf. Good morning to both of you. It's great to have you with us. But before we come to you, let's just take a look through then how the Sunday papers are looking. Now, the Mail on Sunday leading there with revelations. Protesters are plotting to disrupt the King's coronation using rape alarms. Now, on the front page of The Observer, it looks at the fallout of Dominic Raab's resignation this week with the headline, Tory plan to politicise civil service after Raab's scandal. Activist civil servants target Suella, that's the headline on the Sunday Express. And the front of the Telegraph also leads on the Home Secretary with that headline there, Braverman, I'm ready to defy judges on migrants. And the Sunday Mirror features a report about Boris Johnson's latest holiday, his fourth, just in case you didn't know, vacation since resigning as Prime Minister. An MI6 spy sent to jihadist camp killed own child. That's the front page of the Sunday Times. And the Daily Star there leads on tributes to star Barry Humphries, also known as Dame Edna Everage. The headline there, Good Night Possums. And S Club 7 singer Rachel Stevens is dating her Dancing on Ice partner, Brendan Hatfield. That's a splash there on the front of the Sun on Sunday. Let's go straight then to our guests now. And let me start with you firstly then, Marianne. And just looking through the front page there of the Daily Mail, it's an interesting one there, extremists plotting to disrupt the King's coronation using rape alarms. We have to also think about the ramifications that this could have, the effects that this could have on the horses as well, don't we? Just tell us more about this.
That's exactly it. So this is a warning that, what the Mail describes as eco-protesters and eco-warriors might attempt to disrupt the coronation processions by startling the horses in the cavalcade by throwing something like a very high-sounding rape alarm. So not only is it a missile being thrown at the horse, but obviously this very loud noise, unexpected. Now, of course, these horses are trained to deal with lots of things, but up until recently, they've been trained to deal with things like people unexpectedly opening umbrellas or throwing flowers at a procession, whereas now, obviously, they might need to be robust in their ability to cope with a bit more like police horses, a threatening situation, as well as the unexpected situations. But, I mean, the bottom line is this is a lot of horses in a big row with heavily armed and kind of fully dressed in all their gilt armour and heavy helmets and whatnot. And horses are flight animals. If they reach a point where they are scared and startled, they may well bolt. And a procession like the coronation will be lined with families with young children, people who can't get out of the way. And so there is a risk of serious injury or indeed death to either military personnel in the parade or spectators. The thing that really confuses me, though, is the intention behind making this kind of possible plan public. Because my immediate thought was reading this was like, oh, well, hang on a minute, all the people who haven't thought of this are now thinking of, it's another option of ways to disrupt and cause havoc in public spaces. So I don't know, what's thinking about kind of making it very public. Also, there are protest groups, I should say, that it's not just campaign groups like Just Stop Oil who might be intending to disrupt the coronation procession. It's also people who are anti-monarchy, who
Absolutely. We'll be keeping an eye on that. I'm very keen to get Emma to come in to talk about the story that, of course, will live on throughout the weekend and also for the next couple of days and weeks to come. This is Emma, Dominic Raab's resignation. I did read his resignation letter, and of course I had some questions of my own that I'd like to put to him if I were to get the opportunity to speak to him. But just tell me about what you make of this. And this headline here is saying that there's a Tory plan to politicise civil service after Raab.
Yeah, so the Observer front page are reporting on these plans radical plans, they call it, to bring in more politicisation of the civil service. And this follows, as you say, the resignation of Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab on Friday, following accusations of bullying and intimidation while the accusations were upheld. And he did resign, and he sent that letter to Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister. And the plans are coming from the government's advisor on the civil service, Francis Maude, who is also a Conservative Tory grandee. He wants us to be, he says, more robust and less mealy-mouthed about politicisation. And the thing about the Dominic Raab case is, as in this context, it seems to have highlighted this tension between ministers and the civil service, the people, the servants who are supposed to be serving them. So basically, that tension between ministers trying to drive through their policies and civil servants allegedly remaining neutral. And many of these Tory MPs do actually perceive the civil service as sort of a bit wet, basically liberal Remainers. And so many of these critics feel that the civil service does need to be more robust and more overt about political appointments.
Absolutely. And staying very much with events happening in Westminster, Marianne, the front page of the Sunday Express then, talking about these activists within the civil service then taking aim this time at Suella Braverman. It's very interesting to see also that they say, after they've taken down former Deputy Prime Minister Dominic Raab, they have Suella Braverman in their sights.
Yeah, this is kind of an extension of the same story, because it's partly about the bill against illegal migration, which is coming back to the Houses of Commons this week coming. But actually, it's about this relationship, as Emma says, between government ministers and government policy and the civil service, the apolitical civil service. And the suggestion is that the civil service is known as the blob, and the Tory party, Tory ministers who have kind of quite ambitious programs of change are struggling to get the support and the kind of robust advice that they should expect from the civil service, because fundamentally there's somewhere between apathy and horror at what is trying to become law. So it's very difficult to then advise and provide best expert advice on something that you're kind of, perhaps ethically and politically very much against. The suggestion is that Suella Braverman, with her attempts to get a change in UK migration law, change the balance between, as they describe it, protecting borders versus human rights protections, that she's going to come up against the civil service that ousted Raab, and the allies of Braverman and Raab are now saying, well, prepare yourselves for the whispering campaign, prepare yourselves for allegations that she's violated ministerial codes. It's all, smoke. It's all just to seed the idea that she's also a horrible bully, and that's why the civil service can't work with her, not because of policies.
And Emma, I'll come to you on this. I'm so sorry, Maria. Emma, I'll come to you on this next story. It's a very, very somber one. I have to say, certainly will send shivers down your spine. We don't have much time for this, but just give us more details about this MI6 spy who went on to then kill his own child.
Yeah, this is the front page of the Sunday Times. Very alarming investigation, as you say, Vanessa, about a British spy who was sent by MI6 to a jihadist camp in Waziristan, despite clear warnings and clear knowledge of his extreme vulnerability. He was scored as extremely emotionally unstable. He was vetted for overseas work, and he was sent out to Waziristan, despite the knowledge that he had been, his claims he'd been sexually abused as a child, he'd had a mental a nervous breakdown as an adult.
Oh, Emma.
His wife. Sorry.
I'm so sorry, Emma. I think we should try and pick up on this story in the next hour, actually. We've just run out of time, but let's mark it to come back to that because it's very important. Thank you so much, both of you. Don't go too far because we'll come back to you in the next hour, and we'll see you after this short break.